Okay, so I started Cloud Atlas today, just because it was calling my name on the bookshelf, and it's so far really dense, but I was just flipping through the pages here, and I found the Miranda rights. What? Okay. I am 17 pages in. It's really good, but I've never had to Google the definition of this many words before in a book, literally ever. You know, when you were like in school and they were like, okay, your reading level is this, so now you read a book that's like just above your reading level. That's what this book feels like. It feels like it's just above my reading level in a good way, but it is stretching my brain so much. It's been so long since I read a book like this. I better keep going because it's probably good for me. I really love how heavy this book feels in my hand. It's so thick, but also it's like the pages are dense or something. It just feels real. It feels like this book, even from the very start, is like, I'm about to change your world. I'm about to rock your world. Okay, I'm reading New Animal. This imagery is amazing, so I'm going to share it. The main character, this is not a spoiler, the main character, her mother passes away in the beginning of the book. That night, I dream about my mother. She's on her knees beside me, carving into my chest with a knife. She brushes away blood with the back of her hand, knife to the sky. Good job, she says to me as I begin to float on all the blood. I have missed her voice. She cuts me open, chest to pelvis. She laughs and throws her knife into the sea of blood around us and stares at my insides. You need to drink more water, she says. She touches the soft red arteries, the shellac wash of connecting fascia, and the deep down flesh that is velvety brown. She rips my lungs apart like bread and then grabs my heart, pulling at it until it comes out with a wet and watery snap. It feels like an itchy pressure, like a thick cough that won't shift. She weighs my heart, tossing it between each hand before flicking it into the choppy waves behind her, then shrinking down and curling up inside of me. Oh my god, this is crazy. So each section is literally like 40 pages, 50 pages. The last section I read was just like 50 pages, and each one feels like it could be its own entire book, like in and of itself. And it's making it hard because every time I pass over to a new section, I'm like, no, I want to go back. I want to finish the story. And then now I gotta learn new characters, learn the new setting, and then figure out how it's previously connected to everything else. But like, it's like a puzzle. Oh my god, my brain is being exercised to its fullest potential, and I am like literally on the edge of my seat. I wish I could read it faster, but it's so dense. It takes so much effort to read in like a really good way, and like I'm really enjoying it. But it's so hard, and I want to know the answer, but I'm still so far away. I have no idea what to think about this book yet. I don't know what the point is. I want to know what the point is. I think it's time! To Rilke we go. You know when finally pick up a classic or something that's going to be a little more difficult to read, and you go into it and you're like, I'm ready, I'm prepped, I'm in the zone, and then you look and the introduction has 35 more pages before you even get to the book that you had been prepping yourself to so hard work through. But you can't just not read the introduction, because what if there's important context and you won't understand the book to its fullest extent if you don't read the introduction. Like, that's what the introduction is there for. That's why it's there before. But then by the time that you finish the 35-page introduction, you're like, oh, well, there's my reading for the day. Guess I better move forward. And then the next day you don't feel like starting a classic, so you don't pick it up again. That's not what's going to happen this time, I promise. But it tests me. The introduction tests me every time. help. Okay, I read this book already. I read it front to back, and I was dissatisfied. I felt empty. Rilke! I felt empty! But I realized it was because I was empty while reading it. I found some commentary in the back of the book that provided a little more context to each of the poems and provided a little more inspiration to each of the poems to me. So I started the whole thing completely over. This time I really slowed down. I focused not on finishing this book because I've had this book on my TBR for so long. I've been wanting to read it for so long, and when I finally dove into it, I flopped. I speed read. I let the words go by in my head and not in my heart. So here we are. I'm almost done with it once again. And just like with every other Rilke book that I've read, I feel very understood. I don't know what it is about this man and his solitude that seems so akin to my own. I have a poem to read you. Everything inside this poem is the Book of Hours. Dear darkening ground, you've endured so patiently the walls we've built. Perhaps you'll give the cities one more hour, and grant the churches and cloisters too. And those that labor, will you let their work grip them another 5 hours or 7? Before you become forest again and water and widening wilderness, in that hour of inconceivable terror, when you take back your name from all things. Just give me a little more time. I want to love the things as no one has thought to love them, until they're worthy of you and real. I want only 7 days, 7 on which no one has ever written himself, 7 pages of solitude. There will be a book that includes these pages, and the one who takes it in his hands will long sit staring at it until he feels you holding him and riding through him. In the end of this poem, Rilke is talking about this book.
I love you, but
Hi. Welcome to my book haul. These are some very special books. I have a video series planned. Lately, life has been terrifying, and I feel like I spend so many hours a day trying to figure out ways to make myself feel better. Those have all just ended up as avoidance tactics, and I don't think the avoidance tactics are working. And I don't want to be avoidant of the truth, of the reality of the world that we live in. I want to be tuned in. I want to be aware. So, video series coming soon. I will be reading a bunch of climate books in an attempt to combat climate apathy, because I feel like when you feel too many things, even if you don't mean it, you become apathetic. It's a natural response, like your body shuts down in response to the overwhelmingness so that you can continue to function. So I'm turning to recent voices. Most of these have been published within the last 3 years, I believe. I'm tired of pretending it's not hurting me. I'm tired of pretending that it's not hurting others. And I'm tired of pretending like everything is okay. So here is my climate book haul. Plastic in the climate book haul. First, we have Generation Dread by Britt Ray, and it is about finding purpose in the age of climate change. This is one of the most popular ones. This one came out last year, so it's very recent. Climate change is so different right now than it has ever been, and it has attempts to define or give it a shape. An impassioned generational perspective on how to stay sane amid climate change. I have hope. I've heard really good things about this. This is probably the most popular of the list that I have, and then everything else is varying levels of popularity. Saving Us by Katherine Hayhoe, a climate scientist's case for hope and healing in a divided world. Climate scientist Katherine Hayhoe has a hopeful message. The most important thing we can do to address climate change is to talk about it, and she wants to teach you how. That sounds exactly like what I'm looking for, because I don't know currently at this point in my life how to talk about climate change without feeling completely overwhelmed that everything in my life is going to end as I know it. And next we have All We Can Say by Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson and Catherine K. Wilkinson. Truth, Courage, and Solutions for the Climate Crisis. Bunch of essayists and poets. Oh wow, this one's thick. Okay. Essays from women at the forefront of the climate movement who are harnessing truth, courage, and solutions to lead humanity forward. Oh, whoa. Whoa, okay, this book is cool. It is a combination of essays, poems, and scientific steps. Wow, I'm very impressed. I'm really looking forward to this one, actually. I'm actually really excited for this one because this is a bigger picture by Vanessa Nakate. My fight to bring a new African voice to the climate crisis. Vanessa Nakate uses her fierce and fearless spirit to put the African continent and countries in the global south at the center of a conversation that they have largely been written out of. This is her memoir and manifesto. This one, oh my god, this one seems amazing, actually. I'm really excited for this one. Surviving the Climate Crisis, The Future We Choose by Christina Figueres and Tom Rivet-Carnac. This is the oldest one. It came out in 2020. These people were actually architects, it says, of the 2015 Paris Agreement, so that's really awesome to have one of their perspectives here as well. And it looks like I got Book Outlet. I bought this from Book Outlet, and it looks like they sent me an extra book. I wonder if they just did that so that the books didn't knock around in the box. They're like, just throw a book in there. Ghost Story by Peter Straub. I am so picky about my thrillers, so if you've heard of this, if you think it's good, if you think it's bad, let me know, because I don't know about it.
Feel you're gonna disappear. think this might be love. Yeah, it's love. You are the moon in the summer sky. The heart of my heart, the goddess divine. And I know I can't let you go. So I lie down at your feet. I lie and I cry, cry, cry. All I want, girl, is you by my side. Think this might be love. Yeah, think this might be love. Yeah, it's love. Oh, don't you see what you're doing to me? My feet all in my head, but it's time I let go. All the demons.
There's so much bush to eat.
So I lie down at your feet. I lie and I cry, cry, cry. All I want, girl, is you by my side. And I think this might be love. Yeah, I think this might be love. Yeah, it's love.
so.
Sulfur. Straight sulfur.
Okay, let's do a reading update and then end the vlog here. I still have not finished Cloud Atlas, but that's okay. I realize I've spent, this is probably second month, almost third that I've spent reading this book. And it always feels welcoming whenever I want to return to it. There's a few different perspectives in here. I'm not going to say any more than that because or else it'd be a spoiler. It's very easy in between the perspectives to put the book down and not pick it up again. But I never feel penalized for putting it down. I never feel pressure or in picking it up again. It's like it almost feels like that friend that you don't really have to talk to, and then when you meet up again, it's just like it was. It can be a little complicated to read at times, but the way that it's been almost like a companion to me during this reading process has been really enjoyable. It's been very lovely, actually. It's very different. It's very much so like a comfort, becoming a comfort read almost, even though this is like the weirdest book ever to have as your comfort read. There's no rush here. I don't feel that pressure that I feel with almost like every other book to like get to the end. I want to know what happens. It's so much wholly about being in the moment that it's in that you're absorbed by it, and once you're out of it, there's no I have to know how it ends. All you're doing is absorbing the story that you just read. It's very interesting. I don't know if I have I don't know if I have the capability to explain it better than that. But hopefully I will have this finished by the next time that we do a vlog. Next, this is unfortunate. I have a DNF for the first time all year. And it's not a forever DNF. I will return to it one day, but that day is not anytime soon. Pedro Paramo. I'm sorry. It's really convoluted. It's very, very, very non-linear. And in a way that is very hard for my tiny brain to comprehend. So, even though it's literally so short, I was already like a third of the way through it. I gave up. But that's okay. I forgive myself for giving up. Because I am allowed to read what I want. So this is going back on the bookshelf until a later date. I finished New Animal by Ella Baxter. Was really loving this one. I was enjoying it so much. The descriptions, the comparison between sex and death, the visceral emotions. It was such a visceral book, describing so many raw things that existed, and I felt like it was the beginning of a book. I felt like I just read the beginning of a book, because by the time that the book ends, it felt like I had only read the introduction. I felt like I had watched all of these great characters get set up, and all of these great places to be and questions being asked had all been set up, and then suddenly, before there's any progress, before there's any lessons learned, before there's any solutions given, the book ends. Like, it ties it all up in a bow, like, oh yay, that's it, we did it, good job. And I was left feeling like I wanted so much more. So this one only ended up being like a 3-star because I was enjoying it so much that I thought that the short end was a disservice to the great writing. Disappointing when things like that happen. And now here's the big one. Here's the big one. Rilke's Book of Hours. The beginning of this book was a cry to the higher powers of the universe for answers, where I feel like Do We Know Elegies, my favorite of his works, came from a much more evolved and certain Rilke, and I think I like that certainty in his writing. Although I do think that throughout the process of this story, of this book, it does become he does gain his footing, becomes more certain of the things that he is questioning and the reasons behind them. And I kind of explained this earlier, but I finished this for the second time in the past couple of months. I read it, I enjoyed the end of it more than the beginning, and then I closed the book, and it just left me feeling so dissatisfied. Not because of the book itself, but because of my reading experience that I had while reading this. I felt like I didn't really like understand or absorb these because they're really, really personal. They take so much research and understanding to glean the proper meaning for them, and I think because of that, when I first sat down and read the book, I was kind of closed off to it. I wasn't open to the other perspective. I wasn't open to Rilke's experience. I was just in my own head. At the end of here, though, there is a little like commentary section. It has a little bit of background for all of the poems in here, and that commentary was like the Rosetta Stone into understanding this book. With that little bit of extra detail, I feel like I was able to get so much more out of the reading experience. I enjoyed my second read through eons and eons and eons and eons better than my first read through. You know, it's okay to need help with poetry, because poetry is so much a singular experience from the author. All that taking more effort to understand poetry can do is enlighten and enhance the experience. Because yeah, it's kind of tiring to have to like, oh, I read this poem that was like 10 lines, now I gotta go do research, find the background, things like that. But like, you just can't be afraid to reach for knowledge. You can't be afraid to reach for the things that are right there in front of you, because I feel like if I hadn't made myself sit down and reach for the words here again, I wouldn't have gleaned as much knowledge, as much love, as much understanding as I had if I had just been like, check off the list, another book for the year. So you can't be afraid to reach for knowledge. And I'm currently still reading Dear Theo. I'm reading this one very slowly, just like kind of like Cloud Atlas, because it's not so much as a chronicle as like small blips into his life. It's also very dry because it's like his actual letters, so it's not it was never meant to be read, so you kind of get that informality that comes with lack of details and things like that. But even still with that, he is a lovely writer, an artist's soul through and through, Vincent van Gogh, and I'm really appreciating his nature descriptions and his perspective of the world. It's very interesting. So still reading this. Wouldn't it just be so sexy of me if I just like stopped caring about all the things that don't matter? Because that's kind of how I feel right about now. I can be kind of a control freak, if I'm being honest. And I think right now it's kind of being my downfall because we live in a very uncontrollable world. I think in order for me to improve my quality of life, I really have to find peace with letting go of control. It doesn't sound like fun to me at all, but it does sound like it might be necessary. I'm just grateful that no matter how dark things have gotten, I always feel the urge to keep on keeping on. I'm lucky that way. I'm privileged that way. Hopefully I can give some of that to you guys too. Anybody out there feeling any of these things that I've been feeling anything else, because emotions suck sometimes, in all honesty, you're not alone. You can keep on keeping on. I will see you next time.